Okay, so now at this point it's going to repeat that same, or that entire phrase. The third rep has the different harmonics at the end, so it's all exactly the same up until that point. But then he goes to those harmonics on the as he descends down. The end of the phrase ended, as we said before, with the tapped harmonic at the 12th fret, then a tapped harmonic at the 11th fret of the 4th string. But then he moves on down to the 10th fret, and then back up, all the while holding the 7th fret A of the 4th string. And what that produces is a little in harmonics. It produces a little A major triad. And then he does a pull off and a hammer on to the 5th fret, or rather the 5th string, the 7th fret of the 5th string, E. And does the same harmonics, but just the ascending position, but descending harmonics of the E triad off of that 7th fret E. So that's going to be 10th harmonics at the 10th, 11th, and 12th fret of that 5th string. So that little section again. Tap of that last note, and then one more at the end. He taps the B, the harmonic at the B, which in this case is a B, on that E note at the 14th fret. So that little ending. Okay, that completes the second segment of the intro. And the last segment is really pretty simple by comparison anyway. Okay, and that last little bit is going to be just barring across the 2nd and 3rd strings, starting with the 5th fret, and hammer on, or tap rather, of those notes 12 frets higher, so the 17th fret, and then a hammer on to the 7th fret in the left hand of the same 2 strings, and then slap the same harmonics 12 frets higher, which will be the 19th fret, and then a pull off, and you go back and forth. And then the 4th time there's not a pull off, and he just goes back and does one slap of the 5th fret harmonic, or the 5th fret notes at the 17th fret, hammer on, pull off, and a slide down. And at that point, he's got a lot of volume and gain, and it feeds back, and he dive bombs his way down, and from there to go into the last part of the intro. Okay, one detail I want to mention though about this part is that Eddie Van Halen did a lot of chords in the riffs that have that barred major third interval across the second and third strings. And if you listen on the records, he's super in tune with that that interval. And if you tune your guitar with a regular, your regular tuner and make that B string perfectly in tune, it won't sound right when you play that interval. So to make it sound more like him, you can tune that string just a little bit flat, and that's what I did here. And it also helps when you're trying to get that feedback at the end, because the harmonics are interacting so much better between that interval if it's really intonated right, and then it'll sound much cooler when you dive bomb those notes. So anyway, that's a little tip about the tuning there. And check it out. You might want to listen back to some of the other songs like Running with the Devil and Panama. A lot of the tunes that have that type of chord in the riff, you're going to hear he's like perfectly in tune with that interval. So he was apparently tuning that string a little flat to make that happen right. So anyway, that concludes the main part of the intro, and we'll do a little segment coming up here about the last part of the intro, which is really just an exposition of the theme of the song and the regular guitar riff. Okay, so we'll check that out. Alright, let's take a look at that last section of the intro, which is actually the first section of the song proper. It's an exposition of the theme, as we might say in music college terminology, of the guitar part. So the main riff, it's sort of a repetitive figure that just has a different fill at the end of each repetition. So the main riff is based here in the 5th position, and it's going to be the 4th and 3rd strings barred at the 5th fret, and then we have 2 A's at the 7th fret of the 4th string, and then a G at the 5th fret, and then repeat that all the way up through those 2 A's, and then jumps down to the 7th fret of the 5th string, and then 4th string, 5th fret, and then 4th string, 7th fret, pull off to the 5th fret of the 4th string. So let's go through that so far. And then a little bit of a repeat here. And that's going to be the last phrase there. So again, it repeats the 2 notes on the 5th fret of the 4th and 3rd string, the 2 A's, and then drops down to the E on the 7th fret of the 5th string. And then in the first ending of the riff is just going to be an open power chord. G and D strings open. You can hear a little bit though. It sounds especially good on the record, and I think that's because the B string is so in tune, like we talked about in the first part of the intro. The B string, if it's a little bit flatter than your tuner would say is in tune, you can get it to be more resonant with those other 2 strings. So to hear how that's nicely resonating there. Okay, so so far we've got. Okay, now it's going to repeat the riff. And instead of the power chord, it goes to a single G note at the 5th fret of the 4th string, and then it's going to be a little series of harmonics. The harmonics are going to go 5th fret, 4th string, 2nd string, 3rd string, and then up to the 7th fret of the 4th string, and then the 7th fret of the 3rd string, and then to the 12th fret, 4th string, 2nd and 3rd. So that series all at once. Okay, so so then there's going to be another repetition of the riff with a different ending. This time, instead of dropping down to the E for the very last bit, it just goes straight to a G. And then there's a little pentatonic descending phrase. So starting on C, 2 A's on the. So let me tell you where they are. The C is on the 5th fret of the 3rd string, and then 2 A's again on the 4th string, 7th fret, and then the multiple G's there on the 5th fret of the 4th string, and then a couple of E's on the 5th string, 7th fret at the end. So that little phrase again, and that's going to be all kind of muted a little bit. Okay, so then it's going to repeat again. And this time, ending, the last bit of that phrase ends with that G. And then there's a scuffing sound. So you're just scuffing the muted strings there, and to get that sort of whirring effect, it's the MXR Flanger. It's the original one is a gray one. I have that model, and to make it sound like the Van Halen sound, you have to turn the knobs, the manual, width, and speed knobs. Those 3 knobs are all set at about 10 to 11 o'clock. On the dial, and then the regeneration knob, the last knob on the right, is set all the way on 10, or maxed out, in other words. And so he just clicks it on for that little bit of scuffing there, and clicks it back off. If you have the Van Halen flanger, then you just press a button, and it's got that, from what I understand, it's got that setting. It goes straight to it. Okay, so then the last thing is hits a power chord, and then it goes into the main riff, and then into the tune. So that's the intro to Mean Streets, and or rather Mean Street. And I hope that you got something from it and you enjoy playing it. And we'll see you on more lessons in the future. Stick around.